Good day to each and everyone. So for this video, we're going to tackle about the sensory of taste. So it is how we detect the taste that of the food that we eat. So here are the objectives. So first, explain the taste buds in the papillae. Describe the histology of taste buds. Explain the neural pathway for the taste. Describe the pathophysiology. So, what is taste? Taste can be categorized as a gustatory perception. Human perceive taste through sensory organs on the tongue called taste buds. So, my classmates were going to explain the taste buds. It is most or on the tongue, in the surface of the tongue or in the epiglottis.
So, taste buds. Before I going to explain what is taste buds, let me explain what is taste first. So, taste or formally gustation is a human sense that we use to experience the flavors of food that we eat or the drinks that we drink. The system that is partially responsible for the perception of taste or the flavor is the gustatory system or the sense of taste. What is tongue? Tongue is a movable mass of muscular tissue attached to the floor of the mouth in most vertebrates. Tongue is the organ of taste and it's covered by a mucous membrane that is important for taste sensation. Our tongue helps us to manipulate foods, helps form words, and serves as a sensory organ for gustation. It contains many sensory organs that helps us to differentiate taste and smell as well. Without our tongue, we would lose our ability to swallow, in our ability to speak, and most of all, our ability to taste. Taste buds. The sensory structures that detect taste stimuli are the taste buds. So this is taste buds looks like. Taste buds are the sense organ that is respond to gustatory. It is responsible to respond to gustatory. It is oval structure and are located in the lining of the mouth and on the soft palate and even the lips and throat, especially in children. So this is taste buds looks like, and it is most located in our tongue. Most taste buds are associated with small, elevated projections in the tongue that is called papillae. So there are four types of papillae which we'll discuss by next reporter. Papillae, which are enlargements on the surface of the tongue. Each taste buds consists of two types of cells. Each taste cell contains hair-like processes called taste hair. This is taste hair looks like. This taste hair that extends into a tiny opening in the epithelium of the taste bud called a taste pore. So taste pore by a small opening in the tongue epithelium. Parts of the food dissolved in saliva come in contact with the taste receptors. Taste pore are located on top of taste receptor. Taste pore are located on top of taste receptor cells that constitute the taste buds. This is the taste receptor cells look like. Receptors on the hair are stimulated by dissolved substances to initiate action potentials that are carried by afferent neurons. This is the afferent neurons or nerves. This is the responsible to carry the action potential to the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. So all taste can be detected and all areas of the tongue that is contain taste buds. Taste is a form of direct chemoreception and is one of the traditional five senses. Taste buds house the chemoreceptors responsible for taste. Taste or gustation is called chemical senses because it has sensory receptors that respond to molecule in the food we eat or the drinks we drink.
Okay, they are the structure of tongue, type of papillae. Number 1, circulate papillae. 7 to 2 relative large around the papillae, shaped like the type of pencil eraser. Surrounded by the dip of epiphyseal throat. This found on posterior third of the tongue, like a V shape or V pattern. So it circulates papillae, processes obtain taste buds as long side of papillae and also locate the circumvallate and also locate in oral mucus of plate and epiglottis. The circulate papillae are at large are circulate form a V-shaped row nearby root of the tongue. So the second structure of tongue, fungiform papillae, just like a mushroom-shaped papillae, with hollow depression skated over the anterior, just a 2 to 3 surface of tongue. This typically possesses only 5 taste buds. In locate on the tape of papillae, the responsible fungi and septs, found on tip inside of tongue. Because your tongue has between 200 and 400 fungiform papillae, the rays of across the top of tongue, but mostly concentrated on side of teeth. Here are the third piliform papillae. The piliform papillae, hair-like papillae, secreted all over the anterior, just a 2 to 3 of tongue. It did not have taste buds, cause these are designed to create function of surface of the tongue. Also, these are covered the anterior with delicate brush-like. Processes seem to be specially connected or responsible of the given of tongue. Its texture, the sense of tongue, very highly and developed in a tongue are the senses of temperature and pain. The last, palate papillae. The palate papillae, just 4 in 5 vertical folds, delicate on the lateral margin of posterior region of the tongue. So it is a possesses many taste buds. These are present on each side of the tongue, shape and appear as a varies of red color leaves like a regals of mucosa. They are the covered with epithelium, la keratin, into are the suffered.
We're going to discuss the histology of taste buds. So the tongue is covered with rough, bumpy structured called papillae, which contain taste buds. Taste buds are made up of gustatory and basal cells. The gustatory cells are present in the taste pores and contain taste hairs. Basal cells replace the gustatory cells. So this is the sensory organs of the taste buds that are found in our tongue. There are receptor cells or gustatory, microvilli, the hair-like structure, the pores, and supporting cells of the basal cells. The last one, taste afferent.
Taste buds are packed deep down in the papillae. Each taste buds are 50 to 100 taste receptor cells which register in response to different molecules in your food. These receptor cells are two major types. The first type is gustatory cells. Is responsible for testing. The second type is the basal cells, which are cells that replace the gustatory cells after you burn that sticky burn. The gustatory cells after drinking a hot coffee. Basal cells replace the gustatory cells every weekend cells, which is why even if badly burned tongue, it's startly healing after glutted days.
Every gustatory cell has thread-like projections called the gustatory hair. These are present in a taste port, which is a small hole over the taste buds. In order to taste any food item, such as coffee or cake, the food chemicals must first dissolve in saliva. This because food chemicals should diffuse through the taste pores and bind to the receptors on the gustatory cells. This triggering the taste signals. Once the signal is activated, the neurons transmit the message to the taste area of the cerebral cortex. Here, the brain makes senses of taste and begins to release digestive enzymes in a saliva and gastrous juice in a stomach to help break down the food so that we can use it. So did you know there are around 10,000 taste buds present in the human tongue? These amazing taste buds can detect the 4 different flavors such as sweet, salty, sour, and bitter.
Let's proceed to the 5 basic tastes of sensation. So first, sweet. Sweetness is caused by a form of sugar or alcohol. So we evolved to like sweetness because it helps us recognize energy-dense foods. Sweet foods are often high in carbohydrates like glucose, which provide our bodies with fuel. So then the sweetness of sugar comes from a chemical interaction between sugar molecules and sweet taste receptor cells, so which are found in our taste buds on the roof of our mouth. For example, sweet food includes honey, strawberries, candy, fruit juice, and cake. So the next is the sour taste of acid brought on by hydrogen ions. So this sensation is caused by hydrogen ions. Something that is sour has a sharp, unpleasant taste like the taste of lemon. Often spoiled or rotted foods taste sour. It's thought we evolved to taste sourness. To identify these types of harmful foods, but not all sour foods are dangerous. For example, we can safely eat sour foods like vinegar, lemon juice, cranberries, yogurt, and the buttermilk. The next is the salt, usually caused by a table salt or sodium chloride. So sodium is essential for electrolyte and fluid balance. So it's believed our can taste saltiness to make sure we get enough sodium. So that's added to food. So when it comes to tasting salt, the ion channels on our salt-sensitive taste cells are very small and chloride ions, true, but not much else, including most other dissolved salts. This is the key to why sodium chloride is one the only salt that actually tastes salty to us. So a sodium channel in taste cell wall allows sodium cation to enter the cell. This its own depolarizes. For example, salty food includes the soy sauce, processed meat, preserved olives, and the fries.
Okay, let's continue to bitter taste. Bitter tastes are triggered by the binding of molecules to G-protein coupled receptors of the cell membranes of taste buds. We wanted to understand the underlying mechanism used
to respond to the presence of calcium in food. We not only identified the taste neuron, but also found 3 receptor proteins that are important in sensing calcium: they're phospholipids, phosphonetisol, and triphosphate. Bitterness is due to the different molecules. These molecules are usually found in plants. Wherever many plants with berry compound are toxic, our ancestors involved to test bitterness, so they could recognize and avoid fusion. Not all bitterness is bad, though we can typically tolerate bitterness at low amounts or when they're combined with other tastes. So, when we say taste of umami, which is also known as monosodium glutamate of the pure taste including sweet, sour, bitter, and tasty. The word umami is Japanese and means a pleasant savory taste. Aside from digestion, umami-rich foods may have potential health benefits. For intense studies show that they're more filling. Thus, choosing more umami-rich food may aid high loss by curbing your appetite. Example, tomatoes are one of the best pleasant base source of umami flavor from their high glutamic acids. Underlying tomatoes can also raise their umami flavor, as the process reduces moisture and concentrates the glutamic. Aside from glutamic acid, tomatoes are also a good source of several vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, vitamin K, potassium, folate, and plates based on antioxidants.
Physiology of taste. Substance called tastant dissolved in saliva enter the taste pore in by various mechanisms cause the taste cells to depolarize. The cells do not have classic axon but have short connection with the secondary sensory neurons. Those connections have some characteristic of chemical synapses. Neurotransmitters are released from the taste cell and stimulate action potential in the action of sensory neurons associated with them. There are 5 major classes of tastant are recognized: salt, sour, sweet, bitter, and umami. The taste of salt results when sodium diffuses through sodium channel of the taste hair or other cell surface of the taste cell, resulting in depolarization of the cell. The sour taste results when hydrogen ions of acid cause depolarization of the cell by one of the mechanisms. 1. They can enter the cell directly through hydrogen channel. 2. They can bind to ligand gate potassium channel and block the excess of potassium channel from the cell. 3. They can open ligand gate channel for the positive ions and allow them to diffuse into the cell. Sweet and bitter. Tastant bind receptor molecules on the taste hair of taste cell and cause depolarization through a G protein mechanism. A taste called umami results when amino acids such as glutamate bind to receptor on the taste hair of the taste cell and cause depolarization through a G protein mechanism. Other factors can influence the sense of taste. The texture of food in the oral cavity also affects perception of taste. Hot or cold food may interfere with the taste buds' ability to function in tasting food. If a cold fluid is held in the mouth, the body warms, the fluid in the taste becomes enhanced. On the other hand, adaptation is very rapid for taste. This adaptation apparently occurs both the level of the taste buds and within the central nervous system. Adaptation may begin with 1 or 2 seconds after a taste sensation is perceived. Incomplete adaptation may occur 5 minutes. Although all the taste buds are able to detect all 5 of the basic tastes, each taste cell is usually most sensitive to one. As with all factors, however, the specificity of the receptor molecule is not perfect. For example, artificial sweetness have different chemical structure than the sugar. They are designed to replace and some are many times more powerful natural sugar in the stimulating taste sensation. Presumable, our ability to perceive many different tastes is achieved through combination of the five basic taste sensations.
The taste sensation, the microleus membrane projecting into the taste pole, contains the site where the stimulus first occurs with the taste system. Concerning receptor site, stimuli, salt, and acid taste use the ionic channels in the membrane, while sweet and bitter taste interact with the protein receptors. The sugar primary used to human physiology are the monosaccharides glucose, fructose, and the saccharide sucrose. The sweet taste receptors are tuned to this small group of sugars. Regarding the bitter taste, many more bitter receptors exist, probably because the poison are generally bitter sweet and bitter receptors are expressed on different receptors cells. However, they share the same transduction mechanism. Sodium chloride produces the purest and saltiest taste in humans, and other salts, such as potassium chloride, taste bitter and salty. Assessment of taste is not easily task to perform because damage may affect taste, quality, or intensity. The alteration in taste sensation may also be localized if one nerve is injured while the other are not.
So now, I will discuss the parts of nerve. The facial nerve, anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Glossoperial nerve, posterior 1/3 of the tongue. And vagus nerve, root of the tongue. So, nerve. The hypoglossal nerve provides motor innervation to all the eccentric and extrinsic muscle of the tongue, except for the palatoglossal muscle, which is innervated by vagus nerve. It runs superficial to the hypoglossal muscle. Lesion of the hypoglossal nerve cause division of the tongue to the ipsilateral damage side. Taste to the interior 2/3 of the tongue is achieved through innervation from chorda tympani nerve, a branch of facial nerve. General sensation to the interior 2/3 of the tongue is by innervation from the lingual nerve, a branch of the mandibular branch of trigeminal nerve. The lingual nerve is located deep and medial to the hypoglossal muscle. Is associated with the submandibular ganglion. On the other hand, taste to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is accomplished through innervation from glossoperial nerve, which also provides general sensation to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Taste perception also is performed by both epiglottis and the epiglottic region of the tongue, which receive taste and general sensation from innervation by the internal lateral branch of the vagus nerve. Damage to the vagus nerve causes contralateral division away from the injured site of the uvula.
So, for the last discussion is the abnormalities or the pathophysiology. So, the most common taste disorders is phantom, is the taste perceptions. The person with these disorders will have a strong lingering or the long taste in their mouth even when it is empty. There are three types of phantom or the taste disorders. So, the first is the hypogeusia, the term of a partial loss of one type of taste. The person who hypogeusia is maybe cannot able to detect of the taste like bitterness, sourness, sweetness, umami, or savory. So the second is the ageusia. A complete loss of the sense of taste is called ageusia, which can make a person unable to detect any taste. So the other causes, it is possible causes of taste disorders and a loss of taste can include upper respiratory infections. So these infections affect your sinuses in throat. You can get an upper respiratory infection is when a bacteria or viruses entering into your body. So or you may touch an infected surface or shake hands with people who have a sick. The COVID-19 or the coronavirus disease, it is the most common symptoms are the fever, calm, tiredness, and loss of taste or smell. You can get the coronavirus through physical contact or through sharing foods or drink, etc. Sinus infections, it is an inflammation or swelling of the tissue lining the sinuses are hollow spaces within the bones between the eyes and behind the cheekbones and forehead. They make a mucus which keep the inside of your nose moist. Middle ear infections. An ear infection sometimes it is called acute otitis media. It is an infection of the middle ear, the ear-filled space behind the eardrum. Poor oral hygiene and dental problems such as gingivitis. It is a common and mild form of gum disease that causes irritation, redness, and swelling. So, gingivitis can lead to much more serious gum disease called periodontitis. Exposure to same chemicals such as insecticides, it is after being swallowed or inhaled. Surgeries in the mouth, throat, nose, ear, and head injuries. Radiation therapy for cancer in the area of the body. Diagnosis. Specialists called otolaryngologists can diagnose and treat both smell and taste disorders to help diagnose the loss of taste so that the doctor may apply a certain chemicals it is directly to the individual's tongue. The doctor may look for growth in the mouth or nose. It is check a person's breathing and search for other signs of the infections. They will
also review the individual's medical history and ask about any drugs used and possible exposure to toxic chemicals. The treatment for those with bacterial infections such as sinus or middle ear infections, doctor may recommend antibiotic for their medicine. So the treatment for more serious issues such as nervous system disorders or head injuries will require an individual treatment. So the home remedies, in many cases, a person can take a small step at home to help improve their sense of taste, including the quick de-smoking and improve dental hygiene by brushing, flossing, and using a medicated mouthwash daily. So the prevention, it is maybe possible to prevent a loss of taste, and some cases may be the result of underlying conditions that require medical treatment. People can try to reduce or avoid the risk of ageusia resulting from infections by trying the following tips: eating a healthy diet and maintaining hydration, getting plenty of rest, practicing good and hand washing techniques, wearing a face covering in public place, managing the stress.